Alors, bonsoir tout le monde.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this regular public meeting of July 8th, an hour earlier than normally during the summer. The city of Dieppe recognizes that the land on which it operates is part of the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq. Dear colleagues, let's have the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Alors, ceci étant dit, j'appelle la réunion à l'ordre.
I would like to call the meeting to order. Do we have quorum? Yes, we do. Any conflicts of interest? Did we receive any declarations of conflicts of interest? No? A lack of interest, perhaps? Neither? Okay, let's move on then. I'm in a great mood. What else can I say? Now, the adoption of the agenda. It's been moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by, by Councillor Godet. On the question? If not, all those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye, contrary nay. It's carried as presented. Which brings us to presentations, inquiries, and petitions. So for presentations, do we have a presentation this evening? Yes. Well, the RCMP has priority. Good evening and welcome once again. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Madame Farah. Excusez-moi, Inspectrice Farah.
Inspector Farah. Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, and Council. I just have a couple of updates to tell you what's going on. A 36-year-old that I had mentioned earlier, Jonathan Luc Beaulieu, from the Edmundston area originally, but lives in the Greater Moncton area now, did appear in provincial court in Moncton. He had other charges were placed against him for the possession of juvenile pornography. On June 23rd, 2024, he pleaded guilty, and he will come back to court on September 6th for his sentencing. I had also mentioned earlier this year a number of accusations and charges of sexual assault and voyeurism and armed. And this one was a new charge, and I'll give you updates as the process moves forward. We have another one, something that happened yesterday. A 25-year-old man from India originally, but residing in Halifax, was arrested following a sexual assault incidents in Moncton. On July 7th, around 2 p.m., members of the Kodiak Regional RCMP responded to a call from the a water park on Mountain Road in Moncton. Somebody had reported sexual interference and sexual assault. When the police arrived there, they learned that a man had been walking around the premises and was groping people. Some of these victims, so far we have identified at least 12 victims who have contacted us, and some of them were under the age of 16. The individual was still on the premises. He was located, he was arrested. He was later released from custody, but is scheduled to appear in Moncton Provincial Court on October 24th, following yesterday's incident. And I just want to talk about this because the investigation is ongoing, and we're trying to figure out if there were any other victims. We'd like to ask parents who had parents at the park yesterday if they were at this location on July 7th. We were called around 2 p.m. But if there were any young people there at any point during the day, please talk to them to see if they were touched or if there was any kind of sexual interference or sexual touching. We realize that it's not easy for youth to talk about it. So you also have to make sure that they have the courage to speak up if anything did happen. So we try to do this in a very mild manner with an open mind. And if the young people have anything to tell you, and we hope they have the courage to do so, well, the RCMP, we work with the victims of all ages, and we will really take the time we need to go through the process to make it as least harmful as possible. So if people have complaints, it's never too late. If you're a victim or if you've had any of this kind of experience, please contact us at call us or use Crime Stoppers to report it. And that's it for me, unless you have any questions. Thank you. Any questions from council? Going twice? Going 3 times. Thank you and have a great evening. As always, you're more than welcome to stay with us, but if you must leave, we do understand. Thank you. Thank you. Now we move on to 8.2, a presentation from the Greater Moncton Local Immigration Partnership. Ms. Cantu will be presenting this evening. Good evening.
Merci. Bonsoir à toutes et à tous.
Good evening, everyone, and I'm sorry for my voice. This isn't my normal voice. My voice is usually much nicer, but please be patient with me. And thank you for the opportunity to present the Greater Moncton Local Immigration Partnership to you. But before I talk about the Greater Moncton LIP, I'd like to explain what a LIP is. It's a federal project, in fact, that was launched in Ontario originally, and the federal government realized that they gave grants to organizations, but these organizations did not talk to each other. So it's a table where we don't offer services to immigrants, but we offer support to organizations that offer services to immigrants. Ideally, we work in partnership, actually, and we're trying to promote a welcoming community. There are 88 LIPs throughout Canada. Here in New-Brunswick, there are 4 of them. There's one here in Moncton, in St. John, Fredericton, and Edmundston. We also have a secretariat, and the secretariat is like a contact, a hub for all of these LIPs. I'm also a member of the board. The Greater Moncton LIP, GMLIP, was created in 2015 at the suggestion of the Greater Moncton's strategy on immigration for 2014 to 2018. So the ideal was to establish this throughout the Greater Moncton area, an overall immigration strategy. We're now in the second iteration, 2020 to 2024, and a little later I'll tell you what the structure is, but we have the immigration strategy, and in the immigration strategy there are 7 objectives, and amongst them there are a number of action plans, and these are how the action plans were developed, is under the key areas of focus. Now the structure, the LIP has a board and the council rather, and the council makes the decisions, and it has 4 working groups. The working groups are the ones that will work with the community to make sure that the action plans are actually implemented. Each working group has a chair, and Francesco Calazzo is the chair of the LIP Council, and there are 4 working groups. Each one targets a certain area according to the needs of the immigrants. For example, we have a working group that is on settlement and inclusion with Chantal Bellemare as the chair. We have that working group works directly with the community. There's also a working group for international students, so really to meet the needs of international students, and it's chaired by Yu Yun Long. She works at NBCC. We're currently searching for a chair for the labor market and attraction working group. This working group is to help immigrants who have an open or closed working permit, but are not residents yet, but they'd really like to enter the labor force. There's also a working group on entrepreneurship. This is for immigrants who are entrepreneurs in the Greater Moncton area, and Kitan Raval chairs that working group. There's also a committee on Francophone immigration, because we have to make sure that all of these action plans for the Francophone side, that Francophone immigrants also have to be heard, they have to have a voice, and we have to really listen to their needs, because you know, as I do, that this is a bilingual province, but it's mostly Anglophone, and we want to make sure that Francophone immigrants receive the same level of service and have the same opportunities. This is not a part of our mandate, but last year we had some vulnerable immigrants who arrived here. And because we are a consultation table, we are in contact with all members of the community. We decided to create a working group who would work directly with vulnerable immigrants. So we act as facilitators for this working group. For example, a few months ago, we had a concern with the cap that they put on international students. So this group, the working group, decided to send a letter to the Honorable Ginette Petitpas and Dominique Leblanc to explain the situation to them, to explain what would happen to immigrants and to international students in the region. So that's the kind of activity they participate in. Now here you have an idea of who the members are, and you'll see that there are federal government and provincial government members. There's the municipalities, the Regional Service Commission, different not-for-profits, the employability and labor market sector, the health sector, students, training, organizations, the community organizations, and ethnic and cultural organizations. These are all of the members currently. And I'd like to mention, no, we are looking for a new member of the board as well. So just some of the highlights of the LIB. You know that there was a job fair in Moncton that started as an initiative under the action plan of the LIB. So that's an example of the wonderful things that have come out of this organization. There's also the newcomer guide, that started after a conversation with our members. We realized that they needed this kind of information, just to give you an idea of our role. There are roadmaps as well. We developed these roadmaps for newcomers with all of the information that immigrants would need on entrepreneurship and on mentors and integration. Last year, we had updated our mandate as well. The terms of reference were updated to better reflect the needs of the community. We just launched a call for expression of interest for new council members. The call was opened on July 2nd, and it'll be open for interest until July 31st. We've also submitted a call for proposal to IRCC for the continuation of the LIB from 2025 to 2030, because our last day in theory is March 31st, 2025. So we've sent in a call for proposal for a new 5-year mandate. And we have a new LIB coordinator who started in January 24. And as I mentioned, we act as facilitators to bring together local organizers to discuss topics such as the International Student Cap. And this is, you can get more information on our website, and or if you have any questions, I'd be pleased to answer. I hope I didn't speak too quickly. Not at all. Thank you. Questions from council? Councillor Leboutillier. Thank you. I'd like to better understand the ecosystem. So there's the cafe, there's magma. So how are communications amongst you? Well, the board, the council has 4 meetings per year. Now we've updated it to make it to meet 6 times a year, but all of the plans are in our strategy. Now, the integration, we exchange information. I don't know if you're talking about the council or the action plans. I didn't quite understand. Well, the first page here, at the beginning, the first table, you were talking about immigration and placements and internships. Your role is one of information and liaison with the government, is that right? Or do you deal directly with the client, with the immigrant? No, we deal with the organizations that offer services to the immigrants. We play a role of facilitator. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Well, thank you for the presentation. I think this is helpful to us. Now we better understand all of the different parts that are involved, that play a part in immigration to this wonderful region and the community. Yes, and it avoids duplication of services. Our role is to try and avoid duplication of services. Thank you. Thank you. Have a great evening. Have we received any questions from the public? Would anybody have a question from the room? Okay, let's move on then. The adoption of minutes, the adoption of the regular council meeting minutes held on June 24th. Motion. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Turgeon-Roy. On the question. If not, all those in favor of the adoption of the minutes will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. It's the minutes of the June 24th meeting are carried. Which brings us to 11.1, administration, 11.1.1, the adoption of policy L-12. Mr. Melançon. Thank you, Worship. Policy L-12 had been presented here to the Policy and Strategy Committee. And this is good news for community groups here in the municipality. This is for an agreement directly with the school district. The Francophone South School District will allow the availability of a certain time in the gyms during the evenings and weekends, and the service will manage the rental and will distribute the time slots equitably and fairly and make sure that community groups have full access. So this is for a recommendation from staff to adopt this as quickly as possible, because then we need to advise these groups and give them time to submit their proposals so they can start having access starting in September. Thank you. Who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Brideau. We don't see each other very often. I forget your name. Thank you, Your Worship. So that Council repeal policy L-12 2001 entitled Tripartite Schoolyard Development Program and adopt policy L-12 2024 entitled Policy Governing the City of Dieppe's Partner School Grant program, and I so move it.
Merci. Proposé par le conseiller Brideau, qui est appuyé par le conseiller
Thank you.
Godin.
Moved by and seconded on the question.
Aucune question. Ceux qui
If
sont
not,
favorables à
all
la
those in
résolution
favor of the
téléphonique
resolution will signify by saying aye.
contraire par un non.
Contrary, nay.
La résolution est adoptée telle que
Carried
présentée.
as presented.
Développement communautaire,
Community development,
fermeture temporaire de la
temporary
ville
street closure
autour de, en fonction du
because for the YQM
Fest
Country Fest 2024.
Alors, ben, juste un petit peu
Would you like to add
d'informations.
anything?
Oui,
No,
je
there's
pense
just the
que
name.
l'accès
There's a,
puis la
a
promotion
map
sera faite d'une
in
manière
your
intense
package, and it will
par
be
les
promoted
autorités, les
very
organisateurs,
intensely
mais
by
au
the
niveau des
municipality
clôtures
and the
municipales, il va se dérouler du 10
organizers.
au 24
But there are
prochain. Ça,
road
c'est
street
principalement
closures that will be
la rue Sainte-Thérèse, la rue
the
Olivier,
rue
puis la rue
Sainte-Thérèse,
Cousteau,
Olivier,
la rue section de
Cousteau, and
Ville-Colette.
College Street, a
Et
section of
aussi,
Cousteau and
selon le
College
prévu, ça
Street,
va fermer le
as
soir
well
à
as other
24 heures
streets
et le
might be
29
closed
heures.
starting at
On va avoir
9:30
laissé les sections
p.m. For
Gauvin,
example, a
la rue
part of
Révolution
Gauvin Street,
et
Evolution
la rue
Street,
du Marché.
and
Alors,
du
il y a
Marché
une
Street.
promotion, une campagne qui sera
So
faite
there will be
là-dessus.
a
Sur
promotion
place,
campaign, and there will
sinon,
be
la circulation
barricades, and
aussi,
it will be well signed
les
and
piétons vont pouvoir
indicated.
circuler
It'll be
de
shown,
façon
you'll be able to
sécurisée. Alors, c'est pour
see where
appuyer la dynamique
pedestrians can walk
développementale
safely. And
comme
so it's
mesure
just
temporaire.
to accept
Merci pour la
these
lecture de cette
temporary street
résolution.
closures this evening. Thank you. Who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Turgeon-Roy. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council accept the temporary street closure plan entitled 2024 YQM Country Fest Traffic Plan, attached to the memorandum dated June 27, 2024, for the event to be held from August 22nd to August 24th at the Music Art site, and I so move it. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Turgeon-Roy, seconded by Councillor Brideau on the question.
Sur la question, Madame Leboutier.
Councillor Leboutier. Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question of information on these streets, or last year, were there any complaints with regards to the streets that had been closed, or did everything proceed well? I'm looking for Mr. Leblanc here. Oh, where he's right here in front. Go ahead, Mr. Leblanc. No, we did receive a few complaints because when 25,000 people walk around our streets, there are going to be some complaints, but nothing major. So what I heard at the time, there weren't any major complaints. No, not at all. And the residents, well, there were some, but not an enormous number. I mean, I've seen worse cases and a worse number of
Merci. Autre question?
complaints. Any other questions? If not, all those in favor will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. It's carried as presented. Which brings us to the renewal of the group insurance plan, Mr. Melançon. This is a staff recommendation. And after the work done by Gauguin Champlain Financial Services, we're recognizing the renewal for an amount of 1,609,130, which is a 5% savings compared to last year's amount. The different services that are covered by this policy, well, it has life insurance, charge for dependents, long-term and short-term disability, health and dental, and prescription drug insurance. So we recommend that you move forward with this this resolution. Mr. Drolet and Mr. Lavigne, the representatives are here. They came here to see us. If you have any questions, it's for their annual visit. Who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Lantaigne. That I would be pleased to read this. It's rare that we hear about a reduction in the cost of insurance. Well, I think that's to the credit of our employees that stay healthy, they work hard in order to reduce the number of claims, right? So that Council authorized the renewal of the group insurance plan and the pooled coverage with Assumption Life as per the terms and conditions outlined in the letter and table submitted by Gauguin Champlain Financial Services, Inc. in June 2024 for the period starting August 1st, 2024 to July 31st, 2025 at the estimated cost of $1,609,130. And I so move. Thank you. It's been moved then and seconded on the question. If not, all those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. It's carried as presented. Thank you. And thank you to everybody for all of the efforts. We now move on to 11.4, 11.4.1, a tender award for the Dieppe building extension phase 1. Yeah, so we're at the phase of awarding the contract. We've been talking about the extension of Dieppe Boulevard. So this will, for a long time now. So this is phase 1 following the announcement, the federal government and provincial government infrastructure program announcement. We received 4 bids and under this tender request for tenders, and we recommend that it goes to Birch Hill Construction at the cost of $7,147,344.20 plus HS2. So it's a little under the estimate, and this will go from Belle-Forêt, the roundabout at Belle-Forêt to all the way to Pélagie, all the way to Pélagie. Thank you. I couldn't remember the name. It goes all the way to Amiro. And this is also, there will be another roundabout to connect Pélagie in the future. So this is a recommendation we make with great pleasure. Thank you. Who would like to read this? Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council award the tender for the project entitled 2024 Dieppe Boulevard Extension Phase 1 to the lowest bidder, Birch Hill Construction Limited, at the cost of $7,147,344.20 plus HST, and authorize this expenditure be defrayed from account number 3-3-35-58-7673, General Capital Budget, Dieppe Boulevard Extension, and account number 4-3-90-58-7673, Water and Sewer Capital Budget, Dieppe Boulevard Extension, and I so move it, Your Worship. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Lantaigne on the question. Councillor Gaudette. Thank you, Your Worship. I have something that I had noted here. Now, this is the section of Dieppe Boulevard south of Leblanc Road will only be open to the public once it's connected to Pélagie or to Amiro. So my question is this: will we be able to go to Pélagie while there's construction? Or, well, will Pélagie be used as a construction road? Well, there's chances because we want them to have access to the site using public roads. We don't want them to build other roads. I imagine that the trucks will use the existing Dieppe Boulevard, and then they will extend it as far as Leblanc, and perhaps potentially as far as Pélagie. Well, are they going to go all the way to Amiro? If they go as far as Pélagie, well, it's possible that they use Pélagie instead, the trucks, as a construction road. Well, it depends on the developer owns the lot. So for us, the Pélagie under this contract, we might install water and sewage, but we're not going to build the whole road. Well, I'm asking because there's a playground right there at that corner. And I'm just wondering if it's a good idea to have so much traffic, truck traffic on there close to the playground. Is that something that will be taken into consideration? Yes, and for the construction phase, I said Pélagie, but I imagine there probably won't be a lot of traffic until they plan actually putting the water and sewage. For this phase, no, there shouldn't be a lot of truck traffic on Pélagie. Thank you. Any further question? If not, oh, Councillor Godbout. Thank you. I know we're starting with a great number of contracts that will be awarded. Could you remind me when the city reviewed its procedures for the last time, the tender awards? Because we're starting in a phase where there will be a number of tenders and a lot of awards. When was the last time that we reviewed the procedures to make sure that we comply with best practices? Stéphane, do you have anything to add? I think we keep an eye out on everything, but have we done a formal review? Ms. Spencer?
Thank you. I can't speak for Mr. Simard, but every time there are changes to the legislation, we're informed. So we are up on, we do follow the latest changes to make sure that contracts are in compliance. Well, I just look at what happens in other municipalities. So for example, and I'm not saying that this is what we have to do this in Dieppe, but we're looking at what the other municipalities do in terms of transparency. And since this is a major project, I'm just planting the seed here, but maybe that's something that we should look at because we're doing major projects and we want to make sure that we don't need to revise the process, in the near future. Well, the opening of bids is open to the public, so the date and the hour of the opening of the bids is indicated and people can attend. Yes. All right, thank you. Any other questions? Those who in favor signify by saying aye, opposed nay, and the resolution passes as presented. That brings us to 11.51. 11.4.2, sorry, tender award sidewalk installation, Lorette Street. So here, since we've connected Lorette to Lakeburn, traffic has gone up significantly. So we want to maximize safety. And so we're proposing installation of a sidewalk on Lorette Street and in places where there isn't yet a translation. So there were 3 bids developed. Carson Development is the one that we're recommending at a cost of $207,850 plus HST. So our recommendation is to pass this resolution. All right, who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Turgeon-Roy, please. That Council award the tender for the project entitled Sidewalk Installation Lorette Street to the lowest bidder, Carson Development Limited, at the cost of $207,850 plus HST, and authorize this expenditure be defrayed from account number 3-3-35-58-7684, General Capital Budget, Active Transportation Connection, Lorette Street. I so move. Moved by Councillor Turgeon-Roy, seconded by Councillor Lanting. On the question. Questions, Councillor Gaudette. Thank you, Your Worship. I know this was already mentioned. This bid was more than twice as high as the other lowest bid. So my question is there follow-up being done to make sure that we don't lose control of the cost of the project? Yes. Any other questions? Councillor Godbout. Thank you. Well, my question is similar to the one asked by Councillor Gaudette. So I had the same question, but I also want to add it. Are we doing follow-up with the highest bidder to make sure that that person correctly understood what the bid was about? So this bid was half the highest bid. Sorry, the interpreter misunderstood that. So I was at the opening of the bids And that was the first one that I was a bit surprised. It was the first one that I saw. So according to the information, what I was told was that some companies bid on all projects. They have that as a policy, but so it's not needed to do, or we don't need to do a follow-up. That's what you're saying? Yes. All right, those in favor. I don't see any other questions. So all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution carries as presented. The Aquatic and Sports Center. Yes, this is to do repairs on the roof in one section of the building. So following a bid or an RFP, we recommend giving this contract to Triforce Team Limited at the cost of $177,300 plus HST. And the account number is indicated in the resolution. So that's our recommendation. Our recommendation is to proceed. Councillor Leboutier, please. Please read the resolution. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council award the contract for roof repairs to the Aquatic and Sports Center to Triforce Team Limited at the cost of $177,300 plus HST, and authorize that this expenditure be defrayed from account number 1-2-80-12-3310, General Operating Budget, Building Renovation Program. I so move. Moved by Councillor Leboutier, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau on the question. No, seeing no questions. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution carries as presented. 11.6, Heritage and Partnerships. So 11.6.1, Signing Authority, Amended Lease Agreement, Café Inclusio. So we had a discussion with the cafe, and we would like to recommend an amendment to the agreement. And it deals with the percentage of sales at 10%. So 10%. So for $538 per month until January 31st, 2024, and then 10% for 2025. So we're comfortable with the amendment. So, and there will also be 4 parking spaces reserved to the employees of Café Inclusio. There's a seniors committee that meets there, and the parking lot is needed, or the parking is needed. So we want to make sure that clients and staff have enough parking space. So this is an entity that does good work with people with special needs. The people with special needs are the employees at this cafe. So that's our recommendation. Who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Gaudette, please. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council authorize the municipal signing officers to sign the amended lease agreement between the City of Dieppe and Café Inclusio for the rental of the basement of Dwaron House for the period from June 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2026. I so move. Moved by Councillor Gaudette, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau on the question. Seeing no questions, those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution carries as presented. Moving on now to 11.7.1. Adoption of the housing strategy. So you'll remind in last June, there was a presentation of the strategy for the City of Dieppe. There had been a recommendation to focus on 4 axes: a residential creation of a navigation service, to provide support to different organizations and developers, an incentive program, and the creation of partnerships with specific organizations for housing projects. And there was another one as well. So we recommend that this strategy be adopted. And if it's adopted, staff will be able to work on an action plan. And in that action plan, there will be quantifiable steps, and we can look at how we can implement the plan. So we're just asking for the adoption of the strategy this evening. All right, who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Lantin, please. Thank you, Your Worship. I'll try to read it without taking a breath. That Council adopt the Dieppe housing strategy. So I so move. Moved by Councillor Lantin, seconded by Councillor Rideau on the question. One question. Councillor Godbout, please. Yes, Your Worship. So yeah, we did have the presentation a few weeks ago, and I had a chance to read the report and think about things a bit more. And one of the questions that I'm still looking for an answer for, and I didn't find it in the report, so I'm asking this to staff, what's the relationship between the strategy and the impact that this will have on other strategies and plans that we have? And so, for example, if we look, and I agree with the affordable housing objectives, we have to think how we're going to offer services to people who traditionally need affordable housing. So we've recognized that the city we don't necessarily have all the services that we can. So active transportation at a lower cost. I'm just trying to make the connection. What can we anticipate in terms of impact? Now, I understand that we're just beginning by adopting the strategy, but I just kind of want to get a general idea of the interaction, or the potential interaction of this strategy with our other strategy and plans, and what types of costs it could be that we could have to incur. Mr. Girard, do you want to take that one? Mr. Girard. Thank you for the question. So one of the axes, or one of the focuses, is to review our implementation policies. So I think there's a direct connection there. As Mr. Melançon mentioned, the first thing to do once we adopt the strategy is to develop an action plan that's concrete and really look at how city staff and the municipality as a whole can implement the four focuses. So any focuses that we choose, whether it's reviewing a policy or a bylaw, will require a lot more discussion with my colleagues in the municipality, with stakeholders, external, and also with council members. So if there are budgetary implications that require more discussion with councillors and staff, you can be rest assured that we will talk to you about them. But here, the focus is, how do we respond to the four focus areas with the tools that we currently have, so that we can act effectively in the coming years? Well, I think it's a great strategy, and I think we're heading in the right direction. But I'm sure that it's going to lead a lot more discussion, and I'm looking forward to that. I'll just add something as well. So it'll depend on the resources and the energy that we devote to it as well. So that'll be part of our upcoming discussions. If it's really a priority for the municipality, we'll look at what kind of resources that we can devote to it. All right. Any other questions? All right. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. The resolution passes as presented. This brings us to item 11.7.2, PAC recommendation, tentative plan, the Quest Capital Inc. subdivision. Mr. Melançon. So the PAC's recommendation here for Unit 2 is to establish a name and location of Progress Street, as well as the location of local government service easements and the setting aside of lands for public purposes. So the PAC made this recommendation. We're asking you to consider it and to approve it. So this is what staff is recommending. All right, who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Brideau, please. Your Worship, that Council accept the Planning Advisory Committee's recommendation relating to the acceptance of the Quest Capital Inc. subdivision, Unit 2, tentative plan, which provides for the name and location of Progress Street, the location of local government service easements, and the setting aside of lands for public purposes. So I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Brideau, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau on the question. Seeing no questions, those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution passes as presented. 11.7.3 now, a department update. So as you know, on last week, we had a public meeting. The staff was not able to, so I just wanted to, I will ask Mr. Girard to provide an update because staff didn't get an opportunity to take the floor. Thank you, Mr. Girard. Go ahead. Good evening, Your Worship, Council. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. As Director of Planning and Development, I'd like to provide an important clarification following the last meeting of Council. Seeing democracy at work is important, and I'm always proud to see people who care about their community. Now, that being said, the 450 Amiro file has stirred strong emotions, and some of the comments shared are simply not true. So following the meeting and the comments made in the public sphere, I'd like to rectify some of those comments, particularly the unfair attacks on the professional integrity of our team of urban planners. The city's certified planners are professionals registered with the New-Brunswick Association of Planners. So we are also bound by a code of ethics overseen by the Canadian Institute of Planners as members, full-fledged members of that association. We have a professional responsibility to handle planning bylaw applications diligently, professionally, and responsibly with respect to the applicant, the employer, and the public. So the planner's role in all cases is to process applications filed by applicants in due form and to ensure that they proceed in accordance with the processes described by the Community Planning Act and the city's planning bylaws. And it's also our responsibility to provide independent professional opinions and to share them at the appropriate stages of the process. The planner's role is neither to support nor oppose projects presented at public hearings. Our role is to present proposed projects and the bylaws governing them in an objective and neutral manner. The public hearing is an important stage in the public consultation process, and it provides an opportunity not only for a project to be presented, but also for proponents and the public to have their say, thereby ensuring a fully democratic process. So comments were made at the public hearing that the Planning and Development Department had failed to forward certain technical studies, such as the tree and traffic studies. The implication was that we had not followed the usual process. So I would like to emphasize and reiterate that standard practice does not include the transmission and presentation of technical studies at the public hearing stage. Our usual process is to highlight the important aspects of those studies. It should be pointed out that the results of the technical studies are summarized by expert staff in the field and then presented through a report prepared by a certified urban planner to the members of the Planning Advisory Committee at the recommendation stage and to council at the decision-making stage. So I want to remind people that following the PAC recommendation, City Council may debate the matter for as long as it wishes within the process prescribed by the Community Planning Act before making a decision. Now, if technical studies are included in an application and requested by residents or council members, documents can only be shared in accordance with the rules governing confidentiality and access to information. And this is a provincial law that the municipality has to follow. So comments were also made at the public meeting and subsequently in public forums that we presented doctored photos, that planners are biased towards developers, that they circumvented municipal bylaws, provided false legal information, and were unpleasant with the public. Those allegations are unsubstantiated, false, and damaging to the reputation of the city's planners. We categorically deny such allegations as they attack our professional integrity. So in conclusion, I want to repeat that our planners acted with professional integrity, transparency, and in compliance with the bylaws and laws in force. The accusations made against us are unfounded and unfair, and we refute such comments unequivocally. We reiterate our commitment to the public, the applicant, and members of council to treat the application for 452 Amiraux and any subsequent applications with diligence, transparency, and professionalism in compliance with the Community Planning Act and the city's existing planning bylaws as approved by council. Thank you for your attention. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your statement and for the clarification. All right, moving on now to the next item. Municipal bylaws. So 12.1 bylaw C1 related to traffic and parking. Summary reading. Could I get someone to read this, the summary? Councillor Turgeon-Roy, please. All right, bylaw C1 2024, a bylaw relating to traffic and parking in the city of Dieppe. Pursuant to the authority vested in it by the Local Governance Act, RSNB 2018, Chapter 18, and the Motor Vehicle Act, RSNB 1973, Chapter M17, the Council of the Municipality of Dieppe duly assembled enacts as follows. The sections and schedule of bylaw C1 2024 remain unchanged from those set out in bylaw C1 2023-1, adopted on October 23, 2023, with the exception of the following amendment to Schedule A entitled Prohibited Parking. Section 35 is replaced by the following. 35 Fox Creek Road, A, at any time both sides for the entire length of the road. I so move in summary reading. Moved by Councillor Turgeon-Roy, seconded by Councillor Godet. On the question. Question, Councillor Godet, please. Thank you, Your Worship. I'm happy to see this because I talked about, I said at the last year that we could park on the west side, but now we won't be able to park on either side. So how's the public going to be notified? How are residents going to be notified? Mr. Cormier? Well, once it's adopted and the bylaw, notices will be delivered and notices are already ready to go. All right, thank you. Any further questions? All right. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The bylaw passes in summary reading. And now third reading by title only. Councillor Turgeon-Roy. All right, bylaw C1, 2024, a bylaw relating to traffic and parking in the city of Dieppe. I so move in third reading by title only. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Turgeon-Roy, seconded by Councillor Godet. On the question, Councillor Godbout. So we're going to be notifying residents after and not before? So it's not a notice, I'm not sure how that's done. If this is adopted, we'll be notifying them in the coming days. So we notify them after the amendment. Yes, because if we notify them and then there aren't changes, that would cause problems. That might cause confusion rather. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution carries as presented. Request for information. Councillor Godet, please. Thank you. Councillor Leboutier. I have nothing either tonight. Councillor Brideau. Thank you, Your Worship. I have 2 points to raise this evening. First of all, it's with regard to Gaspé Park. So when you come onto Gaspé Street, I'm always waiting for there to be speed bumps put in to slow traffic down. And I'm worried at this point. You know, we're in the summer, this is summertime, everybody drives quickly. I live myself on Gaspé Street, and I've been a witness to the excessive speed, and I won't stand for it anymore. You know, I hope one day that a child will not be hit by a car. So I ask you to look at that park. So because the Gaspé exit is dangerous for children. I've seen this myself on a number of occasions. It's important that we take action. And you know, that I get the feedback, you know, I hear feedback from people who use the park a lot as well. So I think I would like this issue to be settled once and for all. My second point talks about fire, you know, legal exterior fires in people's backyards. I've heard complaints this week from people. Again, in my area of the city, or at my street rather. No, I haven't had official complaints or official confirmation, but people call me and they're explaining to me, you know, they explain to me about the situation. So there's a neighbor who makes evening fires often, and the result is that the smoke from his fires travels. Some people have cardiac problems, asthma problems, and it really bothers them. So the question is, you know, the individual in question has a fireplace, and it's a legitimate fireplace. So that's not what I'm complaining about. But maybe we need to tell people, okay, you know, we have to remind people that smoke bothers neighbors. You know, if your neighbor doesn't close his window in the evening, well, that smoke will come into his house. So I'm just asking people, you know, out of politeness or out of respect for neighbors, you know, take a look at where your smoke is going if you have a fireplace, and what the impact is on your neighborhood. And I would appreciate that. If for people listening, you know, it's not necessarily on my street, you know, it's happening in other sections of the city as well. So yes, we do have a bylaw. People are allowed to make outdoor fires It's legal with a legal fireplace, of course, but think and respect, what the smoke does as well, the impact it has on other people. Thank you very much. All right.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. Je n'ai rien.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have nothing this evening. Thank you, Ms. Turgeon-Roy. It's going to be quick. I don't have anything either. Thank you. Have a good evening. Thank you, Councillor Godbout. Thank you. I just have a question, follow-up from a citizen following a new policy. And I'm sorry, I forget the name of it, a policy that we have for not-for-profits to be able to manage advertising in the city buildings. I forget the name of the policy, but it's for advertising. We talked about different bulletin boards, different ways that they could advertise. I'm just wondering if this policy also applies to bulletin boards in these facilities. I have an entrepreneur who wanted to put some announcements on some bulletin boards for small and medium-sized businesses. It might be a way to thank these organizations who make donations sometimes, for example. Well, the policy you're referring to is the sponsorship policy? Yes. Yes. It includes all of the facilities, recreation and sports facilities, indoors, outdoors. So yeah, if there's a bulletin board, any kind of message board, yes, the pool or the arena. And if you have a specific question, you can ask me after the meeting. Yes, thank you. Are you talking about the big screens? Well, not necessarily the screens, but the big bulletin boards, that something you put up with a thumbtack. It's not very complicated. Councillor Lantagne. Thank you. I have nothing this evening, except I wish everybody have a good summer, a safe summer, and good holidays. Thank you. And I just want to say a few words on the Wednesday show and all of the events that are going to be happening during the city here in the municipality. We do encourage people to show up, to go see these great shows. Last week, we had probably the greatest number of participants that I've seen in a very, very long time. It was quite the show that we had too. And I'm sure that it's going to continue on just like that all summer. It's very encouraging to see the variety, the different people who come to participate, who come to listen, and to see the children dancing everywhere. Sometimes I find it a little concerning, but I'm glad mine survived all of that. Hopefully this generation will too. But thank you to the Parks and Recreation Department for their great programming, because I think we're getting a lot of very positive feedback on the program. So have a good evening, everyone, and see you next time.